immediately after that raid, the US Department of Homeland Security put out a statement. It said as follows: "We are sending a clear and unequivocal message. Those who exploit our workforce, undermine our economy, and violate federal laws will be held accountable." Hyundai said it's monitoring the situation and said Hyundai is committed to full compliance with all laws and regulations, etc. This includes employment, etc., etc. You can see it on the screen. Charles Kuck is an immigration attorney in Georgia, representing several of the South Korean workers swept up in the raid. Mr. Kuck, first of all, are your clients still in the United States, or have they already returned to South Korea?
No, they are still in the United States in immigration custody in South Georgia in the Folkestone Detention Center.
And to be
jail, not detention center.
Right. To be clear, the suggestion is that they were there illegally working. Your response, of course, is that they were there on valid ESTA visa waivers, and that the work that they were doing was permitted within that regulation. Is that the gist of it?
That is the gist of it. The reality is our immigration laws are terrible, last revised in 1990. So there isn't an exact category for what these fellows are allowed to do. So under the ESTA business visitor or the B1 business visitor program, you can come in and go to business meetings. You can do engineering oversight. You can do after sales service and installation, which is what these people were doing in the United States. A Hyundai battery plant doesn't just spring into existence. It has to be built by people who build battery plants, and those people don't live in the United States.
Okay, so they were also, just to be clear, within the expiration date of their ESTA, and they weren't being paid out of the US domestic entity. Is that correct? Because these are also important aspects of immigration.
That is correct. There was no visa overstays. And in fact, a couple of these people had only been there 3 days when this raid occurred, and they were leaving this week. They were just literally coming for meetings. ICE did not do a very good job of preparing for this raid.
So when you turn up and point out, look, these people were doing this, they're on valid visas, blah, blah, blah. When you make your application, what has ICE said to you about why they don't accept these people were there?
ICE is saying nothing because they won't communicate with us. That's the problem here. This raid was conducted by a part of ICE called HSI that do worksite enforcement, but they're being held by a different part of ICE called ERO, removal operations. And ERO is dealing with an influx of people that they were not anticipating, because HSI went on that raid to look for Latino workers, about 200 of them, and then they're bringing 300 Koreans instead.
I mean, the reality, of course, and the difficulty for you is that immigration and visas is also, there's a huge amount of discretion to the Secretary of State and the State Department. And, you know, the idea it's a privilege, it can be revoked, etc., etc. So your clients are de facto out of luck.
Well, they have a big problem, because if they choose to leave on a flight, it's quite possible that they won't be able to come back on ESTA or even get a visa in the future. Keeping in mind that these are the highly qualified technicians and engineers that build battery plants for these parties. So this is going to be a major blow to the economy here in Georgia.
Would you suggest to any, look, you know, Quest means business. We have huge number of business, significant business executives, engineers watching us tonight. Would you say, be very careful before you go to the United States? Be very careful. You never know whether it's at the airport or when you get to your meetings or whatever. Or is this just a really case of bad luck for your clients?
I don't think this is bad luck. I think this is the new policy of this administration. And I think people do have to be careful before deciding to come to the United States to engage in business activities. Frankly, you'd be foolish not to think about this and the potential downside of that type of investment or that type of visit.
Are you concerned for yourself, in a sense? You're taking on high-profile cases. All of a sudden, who knows how many tax audits you'll get, how much investigations you'll end up with?
You know, somebody has to stand up, and I'm more than willing to be that person for my clients. The reality is, President Trump and this administration is only in office for 3.5 more years. Well, I'm not sure we've been through worse, but I know we can deal with this.
Sir, please come back and talk us through this again as the case proceeds. I'm very grateful that you've taken time in what's an extremely busy time for you. Thank you.